David Harris was about to test his own daughter, and he already knew it might destroy him. He packed a thrift store blazer, a garment he'd bought years ago on a whim.
I've worn this blazer for years, but now it's a costume. She'll see it and assume I am ruined.
His hands were steady, but his heart felt heavier than the old leather suitcase. Outside, a borrowed Honda Civic waited in the driveway, a far cry from the luxury cars he'd once owned.
I built a steel empire from nothing. Now I am betting everything on a daughter who might only love the money.
He picked up a faded photograph, he and his late wife on their wedding day, when they'd promised to always put family first.
Margaret has her mother's smile, but I am not sure she has her heart.
Buttoning the threadbare jacket, he stared at a man who looked like a pauper, but was worth $47 million.
No more delays. Let's see what she really values.
The Honda's engine whined as he merged onto the coastal highway, heading toward the cliffside estate.
Emma will be radiant in her gown, but Margaret will be secretly judging me.
Through the windshield, the wedding tent rose like a white palace against the blue ocean.
A $400,000 wedding, and I am arriving in a Civic.
Valets in crisp vests guided gleaming SUVs into precise rows. David pulled into a far corner and killed the engine, the silence immediate.
One glance at this car, and they'll think I am exactly what I am pretending to be.
He examined his reflection in the side mirror, then stepped out into the blazing afternoon. The tent glowed with fairy lights and fresh flowers, a champagne fountain bubbling nearby.
Time to discover if my daughter loves the man, or only the money.
David stepped through the flowing drapes and into the reception. The sweet scent of gardenias was thick in the air.
Dad, you are here. I didn't think the Honda would make it this far.
She smiled, but her eyes were already scanning for someone more important.
Grandpa, you came. I saved you a seat right next to me. Come, you are sitting at the head table. I won't take no for an answer.
Emma, the head table is for immediate family. And, well, there's a seating chart.
He is immediate family. The chart can adjust.
Kevin stood frozen, his gaze fixed on the carpet's pattern, as if David's poverty was contagious.
So that's how it is. I'd hoped for more.
He took his seat at the head table, a stranger among his own blood, and waited for the toasts to begin. The best man's toast boomed overhead, but David's ears were tuned to Margaret's urgent whispers.
Did you see his jacket? This whole thing is mortifying.
Just get through tonight. We'll figure it out. David caught the words over the clinking glasses, each one a small wound.
They're already planning to figure it out. I need to hear what they'd say if I wasn't here.
He drew his phone from his blazer, thumb sliding to the voice recorder.
One tap, and I'll finally know.
With a murmur about needing fresh air, he drifted toward the bar, phone angled discreetly.
Kevin, if he's actually broke, I'm not reorganizing my life for him.
David leaned against the cool bar, finger on record, and listened to the silence before the storm. Margaret's voice cut through the music again. Sharper, she pulled Kevin toward the bar.
Get Dad out before he embarrasses Emma. I don't care how you do it.
And then what, Margaret? He'll be hurt. He's your father.
If he's actually broke, we cut him off after the wedding. He's not living with us. I refuse to let him drag us down.
David's thumb pressed record so hard the phone nearly slipped.
That's it. The sentence that will cost her my entire estate. He's not living with us, etched forever.
Margaret grabbed a champagne flute, laughing lightly, completely unaware that the phone on the bar was recording every word.
We'll tell him the guest house is being renovated. He'll take the hint and leave.
Kevin didn't argue, just stared at the bottles lined up behind the bar. David slid the phone into his pocket, the recording saved. He felt both shattered and utterly certain. He slipped out a side entrance, the music fading behind him. The valet barely glanced at the old Honda.
I can't stay another minute. Not after hearing that. I need to hear it again, alone.
He unlocked the screen and tapped the audio file. The red record indicator had stopped, but a new play icon pulsed.
Press it. This is the proof I came for.
If he's actually broke, we cut him off after the wedding. He's not living with us.
A tear slid down his cheek. He let it fall.
She meant every word. My own daughter.
He stopped the playback and sat in silence, the weight of the recording pressing on his chest.
Enough. I know exactly what to do.
The Honda's headlights swept across the deserted lot as he pulled onto the highway, the recording a permanent scar in his pocket. He pushed open the front door and stood in the silent hallway, still wearing the thrift store blazer.
I built Harris Steel from a rented garage. Eleanor and I dreamed of a family empire that would last generations.
In the dim living room, a photograph of his wife on their first anniversary caught the lamplight.
We sacrificed everything for Margaret. And now she won't even give me a small room.
The hurt hardened into a cold, quiet resolve. He would protect Emma's future, no matter the cost. He pulled out his phone and typed a message to his attorney, Stephen Cross. The text read, "Stephen, urgent, draft new trust, meeting tomorrow morning." He sent it, then set the phone face down on the armrest.
This trust will rewrite everything. Margaret won't see a cent.
He sat in the dark living room, still in his blazer, and waited for the dawn that would set everything in motion. The morning sun cut through the blinds of Stephen Cross's office as David set his phone on the polished mahogany desk.
David, you sounded shaken last night. What's going on?
David tapped the screen and pushed the phone across the desk without a word.
Play it. Then tell me if my daughter deserves a penny.
The recording played. Margaret's voice, cold and sharp, sliced through the silence.
If he's actually broke, we cut him off after the wedding. He's not living with us.
David, this is your daughter?
Stephen stopped the playback and removed his glasses, rubbing the bridge of his nose as if the sound itself was toxic.
We have more than enough. I can draft an irrevocable trust, leaving everything to Emma. Margaret receives nothing.
David nodded once, his jaw set. Stephen reached for a fresh legal pad. The machinery of consequence had begun to turn. 3 days later, David returned to Stephen's office. The trust documents sat on the desk, crisp and irreversible.
Emma hugged me when I had nothing. She's the one who deserves everything.
The irrevocable trust leaves everything to Emma. Your daughter receives nothing. Do you want any final provision?
Add this. $1 to Margaret and a copy of the recording. She needs to hear her own words.
Stephen's pen paused above the page, but he nodded and added the codicil without another word. David took the fountain pen, his hand steady, and signed the first page. He signed the last page, the notary stamp landing with a soft thud that echoed in the quiet room. On the desk, Stephen placed a brown envelope alongside a single dollar bill and a small USB drive. He sealed the envelope, the adhesive sticking like a final door closing.
Now the truth starts its journey toward her door.
David returned home and walked straight to the back garden, the soil still cool from the morning watering.
I've always found clarity in this garden. Today, I need it more than ever.
He sat on the old wooden bench beneath the oak and pulled out his phone, the recording icon still prominent.
I need to hear it again, just once more, to be absolutely sure.
If he's actually broke, we cut him off after the wedding. He's not living with us.
This time, the words didn't cut, they simply confirmed. A strange lightness settled in his chest. He set the phone aside and reached down to touch the marigolds, their petals bright against the dark soil.
I did the right thing. Eleanor would have agreed.
For the first time in weeks, David allowed himself a genuine, unguarded smile. The package would arrive tomorrow. But tonight in his garden, he was finally at peace. The next morning, Margaret Richards found a slim package on her doorstep, no return address visible. She sliced it open in her sunlit foyer, expecting perhaps a late wedding card from some forgotten guest.
Probably another check from a distant relative. But this envelope is from a legal office? Strange.
She unfolded the letter, and her smile vanished instantly. The letter began with formal language, but one line stopped her cold. The estate of David Harris has been transferred in full to Emma Richards via irrevocable trust.
What? That's impossible. He can't do this. I am his daughter.
She reached into the envelope and pulled out a USB drive, her confusion deepening into dread. With trembling fingers, she carried it to her laptop and inserted it, the small device clicking into place. The screen displayed one audio file. She pressed play, bracing for something she couldn't imagine. The audio crackled, and her own voice filled the sunlit room, cold and unmistakable.
Get Dad out before he embarrasses Emma. I don't care how you do it.
She recognized the champagne music in the background, the clinking glasses. It was the wedding.
If he's actually broke, we cut him off after the wedding. He's not living with us.
The recording stopped. The silence that followed was heavier than any scream.
That's me. That's my voice. He recorded me at Emma's wedding.
She yanked the USB from the laptop and threw it across the room with a guttural cry. The small device hit the wall and clattered to the hardwood floor, a sound like a breaking contract.
He heard everything, and now I've lost $47 million because of my own words.
She stared at the stopped laptop, the letter beside it, and the single dollar bill that had fallen from the envelope. Kevin Richards walked in from the garage and stopped. Margaret sat amid scattered paper, her eyes red-rimmed.
Margaret, what happened? You look terrible.
My father. He spied on me at the wedding, recorded my words. Now I get $1 and this.
Recorded you? What did he record?
She thrust the USB at him, then stood, pacing like a caged animal.
I said we'd cut him off if he was broke. It was just talk. But he gave every cent to Emma.
Margaret, that's not. We need to talk to him. Maybe we can explain.
Explain what? He humiliated me. I'll call him right now. He'll hear this.
She snatched her phone from the table, fingers trembling with fury, and dialed. The line rang, an electronic purr that hung in the tense air. Kevin stood frozen, unable to stop what was coming. In his modest living room, David let the phone ring twice before picking up, his voice perfectly composed.
Hello, Margaret. I assume you received my package.
How dare you record me, Dad, at my own daughter's wedding? You've ruined everything.
Ruined? Margaret, you ruined it yourself. I only recorded the truth. Do you recognize those words?
That was a private conversation. I was stressed. I didn't mean it literally.
Cut him off after the wedding. He's not living with us. Those are your exact words, Margaret. Not mine.
A choked silence fell on her end. She knew every syllable was locked on that USB.
I didn't mean it. I was just venting. You can't do this over one sentence.
You meant every word. Emma gets the trust because she loved me when I had nothing. You get $1. Goodbye, Margaret.
The line went dead. Margaret stood frozen, the phone slipping from her trembling fingers to the floor. David called Emma and told her everything. The trust, the recording, his decision. She promised to come right over. Her car screeched into the driveway. Minutes later, she rushed inside and embraced him, tears already falling.
Grandpa, I don't understand. I am so sorry Mom did this to you.
You hugged me when I had nothing. Your mother saw a pauper. I gave it all to the one who loved me, truly.
I never needed the money, Grandpa. I just need you.
Use it to build a life Grandma would be proud of.
I promise. I'll start a foundation in her name, something that helps families.
He squeezed her hand, and the weight on his chest finally lifted. They sat together, the trust document between them, a bridge from old pain to new purpose. Margaret's fury still echoed somewhere, but here in the quiet room, David had found his true family. An hour later, a fierce pounding shook David's front door. Kevin's timid voice followed, muffled and ashamed.
Dad, open the door. We need to talk, please.
David opened it and stepped back, letting them into the living room where the trust had been signed.
I didn't mean it, Dad. I was just venting. You can't throw away 40 years over one sentence. Give me a chance.
Without a word, David walked to his phone dock, tapped the screen, and raised the volume.
Get Dad out before he embarrasses Emma. I don't care how you do it.
Margaret flinched, as if struck, raising a hand to stop him. But David held up a calm palm, shaking his head. He let the line finish. "He's not living with us," then silenced the phone with a click.
That is the daughter I raised. Do you still think you deserve my help, or even my love?
Margaret had no answer. Kevin touched her elbow, a silent plea to leave. Together they walked out, the door closing with a heavy finality. From the living room window, David watched the luxury sedan speed away, Kevin in the passenger seat, Margaret's silhouette rigid.
She didn't look back, not even once.
He turned from the glass and walked through the house, out the back door, and into the garden. He knelt among the marigolds, their orange petals bright against the dark soil, and let the scent fill his lungs. He stood, brushed the soil from his knees, and re-entered the quiet house, settling into his familiar armchair.
Love is not enough. Trust is the real currency, and Margaret bankrupted herself.
He reached for the lamp, its warm glow catching the edges of his face. He sank deeper into the cushion, the quiet no longer heavy. A faint smile pulled at his lips, the first real smile in weeks.
Tonight, I'll sleep without a single regret. That alone is worth 47 million.
3 weeks later, David's phone rang. Emma's name lit the screen, and he answered to a voice full of emotion.
Grandpa, it's done. The trust is final, and I keep looking at the documents and crying. I don't deserve this.
You deserve more than I could ever give. What do you plan to do with it all?
I am starting the Eleanor Harris Foundation. Scholarships for trade schools, grants for small businesses, things you told me about.
Your grandmother would be overwhelmed. I am so proud of you, Emma.
He closed his eyes, and the image of his late wife, gentle and resolute, seemed to fill the room.
You gave me a chance to honor her, and I'll never stop being grateful.
They talked a while longer, and when the call ended, David sat motionless for a long minute.
The money was never the point. The point was always love, and Emma proved she has it.
He rose and stepped outside, the garden growing wild around him, and felt the deep, quiet satisfaction of a fight finished and a future secured. A week later, the Richards mansion echoed with the sound of packing tape and hollow footsteps.
I never thought I'd be the one sorting boxes in this house.
She wrapped crystal glasses in old newsprint, the same glasses she'd once clinked at the wedding. A single dollar bill lay on the polished dining table where she'd placed it.
47 million. And I get a bill I can't even spend without being reminded.
She picked it up, then set it down again, as if the paper might burn her. The moving truck would be here in an hour, but she'd already called Kevin to stay at his brother's.
He doesn't want to see me like this. Neither do I.
She walked out the front door, pulling a small suitcase. The heavy door thudded shut.
My father was right. I made this choice.
The next morning, David was kneeling in his garden, fingers working the soil, when footsteps sounded on the gravel.
Grandpa, you've been working since sunrise. The marigolds look happier than ever.
They've had a good summer. I suppose I have too. Come, walk with me.
They strolled along the winding path, past the tomato vines, and the patch of zinnias his wife had planted years ago.
True wealth isn't in a bank vault, Emma. It's in moments like this, with the people who love you for who you are.
I understand now. It's why the foundation will focus on people, not just money. We'll help families stay together.
Your grandmother would say, love is the only fortune that grows when you give it away. Follow that, and you won't go wrong.
He reached down and plucked a single marigold, tucking it into her hair. They stood in the quiet garden, the world's noise far away, and neither needed to say another word. The sun dipped below the old oak, and David felt the deep, wordless peace of a man who had finally, truly come home. Months later, David found a thick envelope in his mailbox. Emma's familiar handwriting across the front. He sliced it open and pulled out a letter, the paper smelling faintly of her perfume. He read aloud, his voice quiet but steady. "Grandpa, the Eleanor Harris Foundation awarded 20 scholarships this month. One girl wants to be a welder, just like you started. We helped 3 families avoid foreclosure. The kids sent drawings. I cried."
She's giving away a fortune, and she's finding joy in it. That's true wealth.
He chuckled softly, folding the letter with care.
I tested my family and found a diamond. The rest was just stone.
He set the letter on the side table, next to the photograph of Eleanor. Then he walked to the garden, where the marigolds were in full bloom, and didn't need to say another word. In the end, David Harris didn't measure his worth in dollars. He measured it in the love that stayed when the money was gone. His test had cost him a daughter, but it had saved a legacy, and it had shown him the one person who loved him for simply being himself. Emma's foundation grew, her heart grew, and in the quiet of his garden, David grew old with peace, not regret. He never flaunted his fortune, never sought revenge beyond that single dollar. He simply let truth speak for itself. The marigolds bloomed every season, and the garden became a quiet memorial to Eleanor and a testament to his values. David Harris passed away one warm afternoon in his garden, surrounded by the things he loved most. He left behind not a war, but a foundation. Not bitterness, but a story that would be told for years. And his granddaughter, Emma, would continue to plant marigolds every spring, a small, golden reminder that true love never needs to be tested. It simply lasts. The story ends where it began, with a man in a simple suit, a borrowed car, and a question that reshaped a family. And the answer: love, when it's real, doesn't count the cost. It just shows up.